Hello everyone, Nougat here, and welcome to another match of Littlewargame. Today I'm bringing you a match played on Ravaged AA4 between WeirdRat in the top left corner playing with the red pieces, and his opponent is aPLAYER playing with the blue pieces in the bottom right corner. Just want to go over couple things really quick. I have a new mic, so that's hopefully that'll make the sound quality of the recordings a little bit better. You can hear me better maybe. So that's pretty exciting. And then also, in case you didn't know, we're in a new patch right now, and I believe we're in patch 4.7. Basically means that some of the units have been balanced or rebalanced, kind of tuned, and basically what happened is that mech has been slightly tuned so that catapults aren't so strong, and then Beast has been slightly tuned. I mean, Beast is probably the one that was the least touched. Beast got werewolves. Werewolves can now do a smash ability, and then barracks basically have been buffed slightly, so now the soldiers are a little bit cheaper and the archers are a little bit cheaper. In the patch note, it basically talks a little bit about how they wanted to see more openings where archers and soldiers could be incorporated, rather than just seeing the two-raider opening that usually comes out of the Rax player most of the time. Something specific about these players, which is interesting to take note of, is that WeirdRat typically plays Beast or Rax. Usually, not everybody plays Rax. It's pretty unpopular, I want to say, to play Rax. So very exciting to see the fact that WeirdRat is starting with a Rax opener, and I'm very curious to see how he's going to play into this opening. So we have two wolves from aPLAYER into a castle, so he's kind of going for this more economic opening, and he's also building a watchtower. So this is probably because aPLAYER, if we look at his vision, he doesn't see too much of what's going on the map, and he's building this watchtower just to make sure he's safe. Obviously, this isn't the most economic decision that aPLAYER could do. Usually, you just want to go into your infrastructure, build another den, get more units. That usually keeps you safe. But I think this is a good call because of the little information that aPLAYER currently has. WeirdRat being very aggressive with these raiders, trying to get as many wolf kills as he can, and just now we see that the tower finishes, and that pretty much stops WeirdRat from being able to do any more damage here. Does go for an additional den. We do see that the castle for WeirdRat has been finished up, and it looks like WeirdRat is going to go for a greedy third castle. Especially seeing that your opponent has very little wolf count, and that you basically have contained him. This is kind of a soft contain, the fact that you have raiders that forced your opponent to build a watchtower here. That's a pretty good soft contain. Yeah. So very curious to see how WeirdRat plays out of this. I think you should be getting a second barracks soon enough, and we do see that aPLAYER does get the info, so aPLAYER now knows that WeirdRat did go for this opening. Very curious to see how he responds. He might try to put pressure on the map now that he knew that his opponent went for a more economic opening. So let's currently see how many wolves are in the map. We have 6 wolves versus 3 raiders. 2 of them are here, 1 of them's over there. And then aPLAYER has been making more workers as of the moment. WeirdRat did cut worker production when he was starting his his third base, but WeirdRat will have the ability to start mining more afterwards. So WeirdRat putting on some pressure. This is very interesting to see him do, because he's putting on pressure even though he has less units. And this is such an interesting part of the game, this kind of dance that occurs between the raiders and the wolves. Raiders can do a lot of damage. They have a lot of like alpha damage that they can produce, but their attacks take a lot of time for them to charge. So there's always this dance that occurs. WeirdRat really wanting to see what's going on with his opponent, so he does scout that he's going for this third, and he is able to jump away. aPLAYER loses vision, so the wolves don't automatically track that. Let's go ahead and look at the follow-up. So WeirdRat did end up building 3 more barracks. He's also supply blocked at the moment, but he's going to build this house and then supply block himself. At the same time, aPLAYER is going for this very sneaky 4th base. It would probably be a long time. I was about to say it would probably be a long time before WeirdRat found out he was going for this base. But as I say that, WeirdRat is sending out a raider to kind of scout this out and see what's going on. So he sees the wolves. I'm curious to see if he deduces that his opponent has gone for a 4th base or not. That's very, very curious. He also has these 2 raiders over here, just maintaining vision. But yeah, as we can see, raiders, WeirdRat's raiders trying to put pressure on the map. Especially here, we see that he's just going in for the fight against five wolves. He can do a lot of damage, and he knows how to micro these guys too. So he can jump over this wall and get away from these wolves pretty quickly. These wolves do actually put a lot of distance between the raiders, given how the wolves have to go around the walls and try to catch the raiders when they do. Let's see if WeirdRat did end up scouting. He did not necessarily see that his opponent had built a castle here, but he probably can deduce at this point that his opponent has built a castle. Okay, so we do see that aPLAYER, now that he's got his 4th base established, he is starting to build a fortress, which he's just finished. So I don't know how long it takes to build a fortress. It takes a while. So aPLAYER has probably been ramping up to build this fortress, and then as a follow-up, we do see that he gets these. He does get these dragon layers set up. So we definitely will probably see dragons at some point. Let's take a look at the production. WeirdRat is going for his +1 attack upgrades, which is very nice for attacking. These soldiers are pretty strong, and it looks like WeirdRat is very persistent about checking to see if this 4th base is here, and he's wanting to do some damage. So this is good. We do see that WeirdRat is putting some pressure. At the same time, Destroy Call is, aPLAYER is able to respond with his own units. As we can see from the micro, this archer is quite exposed. Oh, that might be very loud. These soldiers are doing a really good job of teaming up against some of these wolves. Soldiers do really well against wolves, but these snakes in the back here are putting a lot of pressure on those guys. At the same time, we do see that the raiders are coming in to get some more information. But as we can see, WeirdRat's run by with his units has ultimately failed. Even though he was able to get a lot of wolves killed, I'm curious to see what the matchup is there. So I'm gonna put the cursor in the dark here really quickly. But as we can see, both players have mined similarly. The blue player, aPLAYER, has mined slightly more, but he's also lost slightly more. But overall, aPLAYER has the advantage in the income. And now we do see that WeirdRat is establishing his 4th base and getting workers onto that 4th base. Typically what you want to see is 10 workers per base. Tip that I've been trying to learn recently is when you hover or when you highlight your workers on your base, you typically want to have a full bar plus 1, because a full bar is 9 if I remember correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this worker here, if I was highlighting it, would be 10. And that's typically what you want to have at every base for like maximum efficiency. And then also to make sure that you have enough supply for your army, because if you get 4 bases, that's 40 supply of workers. That lets you have 110 supply of army in the back. It's good eco, good army, pretty solid stuff. So we can see here, WeirdRat is now kind of forced to stay on his side of the map. He did end up getting these catapults, which is nice to see, and he also did start getting these advanced workshops. So I'm reading these comments here. The guest was making a joke about how WeirdRat didn't make a bird yet, and he follows that up with making a bird now. Funny enough, WeirdRat has been doing a really good job of scouting out his opponent's base count, and then now he would have been able to see that his opponent got these dragons. But his opponent has basically been stockpiling these dragons for a couple minutes now, I want to say. Basically ever since we saw these dragon layers go down. And what that's going to mean is that WeirdRat is going to have a really hard time dealing with air units, because most of his army is focused around killing wolves and snakes. Catapults match up really well into ground armies, and soldiers match up really well into ground armies as well, especially wolves, because they have that armor and they do a lot of damage as well. Yeah, so his response is to build another advanced workshop. This lets him build 2 ballista at a time if he wants to do that, and it'll also let him deal with these dragons a little better. At the same time, I want to see if he got that upgrade. Yeah, so the ballista upgrade that lets you do area of attack damage, WeirdRat has upgraded to that, and so he is able to do damage against clumped up dragons now. I'm very curious to see how aPLAYER manages these kind of run-bys on castles that have this watchtower at them. It looks like he just stayed to get a worker kill, and then WeirdRat's going to need to make sure those workers start mining again. But a lot of pressure now, as we see that WeirdRat is on the back foot, having to kind of make sure that he's solid against these dragons, and then make sure that he is able to kind of react to any aggression that happens. At the same time, we do have these werewolf dens now that have been upgraded, and we do have these werewolves. Oh, this is really interesting. So one of the things I meant to mention, let's quickly cover this fight, and I'll talk about what I meant to say right after that. So we do see that these ballistas are attacking dragons. Archers are very good for attacking against dragons as well, so that's very helpful. At the same time, able to do a lot of damage to werewolves. Again, at the same time, we do have these wolves basically having a run-by against this base here. And this is what I meant when I said that catapults match up really well into wolves. Those wolves really got destroyed pretty quickly when it came to the catapults there. At the same time, we do see that these dragons are continuing to run by these bases, and looks like they are basically attacking this watchtower, so that they are able to put some pressure on WeirdRat's main base here. At the same time, we do see that WeirdRat responds by getting these ballista out, and he is able to get some dragon kills as a result of that. Good defense. At the same time, we do see that WeirdRat is expanding to his 5th base. His last base here only has 900 gold remaining, essentially. So he's definitely looking for a 5th base to make sure that he has a solid income. Oh, and then I want to get back to what I was talking about with something that I saw. So, an interesting development that's been occurring with mech is that they can get Gatling guns against werewolves, and that is because Gatling guns now have this attack or armor penetration statistic that lets them pierce armor. So here, as we can see, this soldier has 1 armor, so that means every time this takes a damage, that soldier took a damage, it took -1 armor because it had 1 armor. With werewolves, they have 4 armor plus armor upgrades. If you get ballistas, you can do -5 armor just for having ballistas, which makes it interesting because that means that Gatling guns match up better into werewolves than archers do because of that attack armor penetration. At the same time, while all that was going on, we did see that aPLAYER was attacking this 5th base location of WeirdRat, and WeirdRat was able to respond to that very well. He had the ballistas to deal with the dragons, he had the army to deal with the werewolves, and he had the mages to actually help him deal with those werewolves. The fact that those mages can put a slow field down and it stops these players from being able to approach. Oh, in this case, WeirdRat used his mages to do a fireball, and I think that was a mistake because that means that these guys were able to approach pretty quickly. Yeah, this guest player is pretty is making these points as well. The fact that it would be better to save up mage energy for those slow fields rather than fireballs, so that the catapults can do a lot of damage. Looks like WeirdRat is sieging up now. He's basically just doing some damage, not putting his army at risk. He's using these slow fields to kind of protect his army. At the same time, he does have this watchtower to be able to respond to any aggression. And as we can see, these werewolves are kind of being pulled apart by these catapults, essentially, as they just get absolutely shot up. What I would like to see is slightly more ballistas. I think aPLAYER, actually no, WeirdRat has 4 ballistas, it looks like. Two here, 2 here, so that 4 ballistas should be enough to deal with this dragon count. Oh, maybe even 6. Okay, yeah, WeirdRat's already on top of what I'm thinking about. But now we gotta make sure that these werewolves don't do too much damage. But this is where a lot of the action's going on the map. At the same time, you know, aPLAYER has his 5th base mining, or technically his 6th base now. So both of these players in a pretty solid economic position, as we do see workers coming in to start producing. But we do see that these werewolves are actually putting in a lot of work, able to kind of thin down WeirdRat's army. And let's go ahead and take a look at what the armies look like now. Not very big for aPLAYER, actually. He's only got these 3 werewolves, a dragon, and a wolf somewhere on the map. I honestly don't know where that wolf is right at the moment, but it's somewhere. Here it is. Here it is, defending the 6th base very valiantly. So it looks like WeirdRat just goes back to sieging up. And then at the same time putting these slow fields down, preventative slow fields, to make sure that his opponent doesn't get too close. The thing is, WeirdRat might have too many mages at this point. He's got 12 mages. Mages are not particularly well known for their damage output. They're more useful as utility, I would say, against archer balls and used for slow fields, so that these catapults can be helpful. It does look like aPLAYER kind of moved past WeirdRat's position, and we might be in base trade scenario, as aPLAYER here is just simply going in for the attack and trying to do this kind of run by with his werewolves. This is probably gonna be pretty good for destroy player, or aPLAYER, because these werewolves are pretty good. They're pretty strong on their own, and they're capable of doing a pretty solid run by. At the same time, we do see that they are running by this base. So there's a lot of stuff these players have to respond to. Being able to respond to the situation that's going on here at WeirdRat's fort, being able to pull his workers away and kill these werewolves at the same time. That's a lot of stress. Yeah, this is such an interesting call by aPLAYER. The fact that he just decided, I'm gonna build up with his werewolves and then just send them in past WeirdRat's 5th base here. Such an interesting call, because aPLAYER was definitely losing the siege. He definitely, as we can see, he lost the castle and the buildings around that. But he just was not in position. WeirdRat was not in position to deal with this run by, and as a result, it cost him one of his only mining bases. WeirdRat is now only on 2 mining bases, and his opponent has... Oh, looks like his opponent only has 1? Oh, that's crazy. WeirdRat would not be able to know unless he sent his bird, which he has still, around to kind of see how much mining is going on the map. And as we can see, he's putting his castles down. I actually love this move, because he really only needs to protect these 2 bases, 3 if he gets this one. So if I was him, I would probably just keep my army alive, move back to this castle. Obviously try to keep your production alive, like these are your producing buildings, right? But I would pretty much just stick in this area of the map from now on. Oh, as we can see, the workers are being pulled so that they can do their fighting. And then at the same time, we do see that WeirdRat is chasing down these werewolves. He was able to put them in an airship and put down slowing fields so that these guys would not be able to escape so well. You see some fireballs, which is, it's good to see. It can be handy against these werewolves if you absolutely need them. But as we can see, WeirdRat is just constantly having to pull back away from these werewolves to make sure that he's able to kind of keep his army alive, right? Because these guys just keep moving forward. They have a lot of armor. They're able to take a lot of damage, and eventually they do die. They are very expensive, to be fair. We can take a look at the income and just see how much aPLAYER has lost. So aPLAYER has lost about 3,000 more resources, 3,000 more gold than WeirdRat has, which is, that's kind of just how Beast goes. They have more expensive units in the late game, and they have counters to them, that being this mage catapult composition that WeirdRat has going for himself. And then even in the early game, they're susceptible of losing a lot of wolves. WeirdRat did have a very late response to seeing these werewolves, though. I think he lost like 4 archers straight off the bat from that. And it looks like WeirdRat is wanting to be aggressive now. This is so interesting. Basically, WeirdRat may be sniffing out that his opponent is on very low base count and wants to destroy his only base. That could be something. Oh man, I've never seen a game go to this point where all bases have been mined out. That would be crazy. Obviously, this has 3,000 more resources to mine out. This one has 5,000. This one has about 5,000 left as well. So there is still more mining to be done. Obviously, this one as well. But they are on very low eco in a very late game position, which is so interesting to see. Oh, these slow fields. The interesting thing. Oh, that is so interesting. WeirdRat using his workers as kind of like human shields to block these werewolves from approaching. But now we do see that these werewolves have approached. They are targeting down what they can fire at. WeirdRat needs to micro these catapults, katas, to be able to deal with that pressure. So interesting to see. Let's see if he's able to micro this away. We do see that the werewolf is pulled back a little bit, and he does get out of the slow field. So again, this catapult combination with the slow field from the mages is putting work together. WeirdRat also has potential for micro with his catapult here. He's able to do some catapult drops. That could be pretty interesting. And he is continuing to get more catapults. I'm very curious to see how many workers these players have. So WeirdRat has 4 workers. His opponent has 16. I'm assuming most of those would be here, and WeirdRat's workers are... I'm not quite sure. Looks like he's been pulling his workers away. Very interesting. At the same time, we do see that aPLAYER has been able to finally find this base, basically, and respond to that. That is causing WeirdRat to respond by sending his army back towards the other side of the map to try to keep this base alive, which we'll see if that's able to happen. At the same time, WeirdRat was able to catch out aPLAYER's werewolves that was just moving over onto the other side of the map. Again, these mages putting down slow fields to basically slow the approach of these werewolves, making it really dangerous for these werewolves to approach against the catapults here. Very strong composition. I think something that would just end the game right away is if WeirdRat was able to transition into some gyrocraft, which is very interesting to think about. But WeirdRat already has the workshop. He could have potentially put some air. Are they called mills? The buildings that let you build airship gyrocraft specifically, and then those gyrocraft would have been a great counter against these werewolves, because they would have been able to follow these werewolves around, and then just been able to deal damage to those werewolves for free. Especially since I think nothing in aPLAYER's army can shoot up, except if aPLAYER gets maybe some more dragons or some more snakes. That could have been very interesting to think about. At the same time, we do see that these werewolves, these werewolves are going down. Wow, two of them went down really fast. Mages are putting in work. You know, they do damage. At the same time, we have these 3 other werewolves, and we're basically looking at the mining now. Ooh, WeirdRat just shot his own catapult, basically. Those are very valuable, good sir. Very, very valuable. Very valuable. aPLAYER replies by sending his werewolves back in. Does WeirdRat have slow fields? He definitely needs to put something down. He needs 75 energy on any of these mages to put slow fields down, and he is so far. He can put one now. He can put it down now. There you go. Yeah. Dang, that's crazy. He needed 75 energy to put down a slow field, and he was on like 50 or 60 for a good majority of his mages, making it so that all of these werewolves were able to approach. That was so interesting. At the same time, WeirdRat is able to still do damage, but there are so many werewolves. That's actually a really good point. There are a lot of werewolves. There's, what, 4 here, 5 here. Each werewolf is worth 6 supply. So that's like 30 supply of werewolves right there. That's a good amount of supply. 33 supply from WeirdRat. And 69 supply from aPLAYER. Such an interesting game that's been happening the whole time, to be honest. Like, oh no, he lost a mage. Man, such a good game, such a long game too. Really interesting matchup to see how the mages were able to play into the slow movement of the werewolves, and then how he was able to capitalize on that with this catapult tech. Would have been very interesting to see if Gyrocraft would have been the next stage in WeirdRat's build here, but this is pretty early into the meta, essentially into the patch, and typically when you go into catapults, you're thinking that you're going to win the ground army, and so maybe your ballistas and your catapults will be able to take care of everything else. So it's very interesting to see how this went, and I thought both players played really well. GG to aPLAYER, he won this match. WeirdRat GG'd out. A lot of werewolves at the end of it, and that just goes to how strong werewolves can be. They are capable of winning games in the late game, especially with this their armor upgrades, and with how much damage they're capable of doing as well. So good game. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely leave a like if you enjoyed watching the video, and definitely leave a comment if you have any thoughts about how these players could have played better, or if you have any thoughts about how the matchup went. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one, and have a good day.